Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I want to look at a police disciplinary decision, and this is going to be one of those videos. Now, I found out about this issue via an excellent article by Johnny Wakefield. I'm not going to read that. It's going to be linked in the description below, but I'm going to be able to go through a little bit more detail just because of the format here, but I do recommend you check out the article. All right, so this is in the matter of a complaint and disciplinary proceedings against Constable Thomas White. So we'll start out just by looking a bit at the procedural background. I'm going to skip over some unnecessary bits, but they note, on January 27th, 2022, Constable White was cited with one count of misconduct as reproduced hereunder, which is count 1, deceit contrary to a section of the police service regulation and as defined by the same regulation, as willfully or negligently making or signing a false, misleading, or inaccurate statement pertaining to the police officer's official duties. So right off, the allegation is one of making a false statement. It's of being deceitful, dishonest. Now, when you think about one of the primary functions of police officers, one of the things that it is most important that they are able to do, you might think of going around stopping criminals and so forth, but all of that is kind of pointless unless they can take the next and possibly more important step of testifying in court, where, of course, your honesty is paramount. So dishonesty on the part of a police officer is a really big deal. When an officer testifies that he took a particular action for a particular reason, which might impact somebody's charter rights and whether or not those were violated, it's really important that we have some confidence that this is an honest officer and not somebody who, tells fibs to get out of trouble. Like, say, get out of the trouble of being caught violating somebody's rights. All right, so let's look at the details of the allegation here. So it's alleged that on or between March 13th, 2021 and July 20th, 2021, you willfully or negligently made false, misleading, or inaccurate statements as to how you came into possession of a non-issue open-top magazine holder, stating you were authorized to use this modified issue equipment. In particular, you told Staff Sergeant JJ on March 13th, 2021, and later Sergeant KK and Sergeant LL. Now, those aren't actually their initials. They're just random bits that they give us. You received the non-issue magazine holder from a member in the firearm training unit who authorized your use of the equipment. You subsequently denied to Sergeant MM of the firearms unit, advising Staff Sergeant JJ you received the equipment and authorization to use the modified non-issue magazine holder from the firearm unit. You then stated to Detective NN on July 20th, 21, during the Professional Standards Branch investigation, that you purchased the non-issue magazine holder and you did not realize you were authorized to use this modified equipment. So to start out, you might be saying, what is the big deal? Because what they're talking about is a magazine holder. So where you put a spare magazine for a firearm, something like this. And the ones that they're issued have a little flap that goes over that covers them. So when the magazine is there, it's got a flap. And so you've got to move that flap off in order to draw another magazine. And instead, he was using one that's just an open top. So it just grips the magazine and allows you to pull it out much more quickly because you don't have that additional step. Of course, that's the kind of magazine I'm using when I'm doing, 3-gun competitions or that kind of thing, because you want to be able to go more quickly. But he was issued the flap type, and of course he's, competing to get a position. He's doing a test here. So this is giving him an unfair advantage over his colleagues. So let's have a look here. I'm going to skip over some of the details as to what all they presented, but this is an agreed statement of facts. And so an agreed statement of facts means that both sides tendered this together to say, we have mutually decided that this is what happened. And so this saves the whole process where they would go through and, have a trial to determine what happened. So the matters set out in this agreed statement of facts are admitted solely for the purpose of the disciplinary hearings to be conducted into the charges as set out in the notice and record of, they're not admitted for any other purposes or any other proceedings. Either party may call additional evidence on the matter set in this agreed statement of facts, but may not contradict the agreed upon facts. So that's just setting out the rules of the court proceeding that they're in. So Constable White has been a member of the Edmonton Police Service since January 5, 2015. So that makes it about 7 years now. His service record is attached as Exhibit A, and he's currently stationed at a location. And we don't actually get, we don't have Exhibit A. I don't have that. On March 13th, 2021, Constable White was participated in the tactical section selection process. While at the firing range, Constable White was observed to possess a non-issue magazine pouch described as an open or fast magazine pouch, which would provide an advantage over the other candidates. The other competitors were wearing the EPS-issued magazine pouch, which has a flap over the magazine and closed with a snap. So that's what I was talking about in terms of the magazine pouch. But you'll notice here, he's in the tactical section selection process. He wants to become a member of Edmonton Police Tactical, the guys who kick down doors and do all the sort of fun raids and so forth, and get paid a bit more. And he's competing against fellow officers. So there is a process for this. There are rules to this competition, and he's using different equipment than what it specifies, because of course, what it specifies for a police selection process is that you use your duty gear, not stuff you brought from home. All right, so the possession of the unauthorized magazine pouch was brought to the attention of the tactical manager, Staff Sergeant JJ, who met with Constable White on March 13, 2021 to discuss this issue. Constable White advised the tactical manager the magazine pouch was issued to him by the Firearm Training Unit. The Firearm Training Unit later confirmed the open or fast magazine pouch was not issued to Constable White. So that's lie number one. So we've got cheating and we've got lying. So when speaking to the tactical manager, Constable White identified Constable OO as the member in the Firearm Training Unit who issued and provided approval for Constable White to test the open or fast magazine pouch at the tactical section selection process. Constable OO confirmed he did not issue or approve the open or fast magazine pouch to Constable White. So that's lie number two. And this is a lie that also throws a specific colleague of his under the bus. All the way under the bus. Oh, it's not my fault that I got caught cheating in this process. It's this other guy, the specific named other officer. Constable White called Constable OO to discuss what he disclosed to the tactical manager, and Constable OO asked if Constable White advised Tactical that Constable OO issued and approved the use of the open magazine pouch for duty. I can just imagine what this conversation was like, because he's like, hey, so, yeah, I had this thing, and he's like, are you throwing me under the bus? Well, yeah, I kind of am. Can you cover for me? No. So Constable White denied telling the tactical manager this, stating that the open magazine pouch was his and obtained it after his EPS-issued magazine pouch broke. So now he's saying, oh, well, I actually bought this, and I did it because my mag pouch broke. I'm not sure what it takes to break one of those mag pouches. I think it's probably a fair bit, but, when your magazine pouch breaks, you go to, the armorer and you say, I need another one, and they'll give you one, because that's duty gear. That's how that works. All right, so Constable OO authored a memorandum to his superiors advising in the spring of 2019 while stationed in the firearms unit. He met Constable White, who was ex and assisting the firearms unit with training. Constable OO was testing the open or fast magazine pouch and observed Constable White wearing a similar looking magazine pouch. Constable OO questioned whether Constable White ought to be wearing the open magazine pouch while on duty, because, while on duty, you wear duty gear, not stuff you brought yourself, because that's a problem. Officers should be using sort of consistent gear and not kind of what they think is best. At that time, Constable White told Constable OO he purchased the open magazine pouch himself. So I didn't take it from your stuff. This is mine, but again, shouldn't be wearing it on duty. And you might be wondering why he authorized, this memorandum. It's unclear on this one as to the timing. I wonder if this is that he authored this in 2019 when it happened, or it's also possible that he authored it, in 2021 when he said, oh, I'm getting thrown under the bus. Better start documenting all the BS, because, yeah, now at this point, he probably realizes that somebody else is trying to put the blame on him. Shortly after the conversation on March 13, 2021 with the tactical manager, Constable White called Sergeant MM in the firearm training unit. When questioned about the magazine pouch, Constable White denied telling the tactical manager he was issued the open or fast magazine pouch by the firearm training unit. Instead, Constable White advised that he told the tactical manager he purchased the open or fast magazine pouch himself after his EPS or his issued EPS magazine pouch was damaged. I've lost track of how many lies we're at this point. All right. On March 13th, 2021, Constable White contacted his patrol supervisor, Sergeant KK, and acknowledged he received direction from the tactical unit prior to the competition to not bring any equipment that had been modified or changed. So, specifically, here are the rules of the competition. Don't break the rules of the competition because it's a competition and it's got to be fair. And yeah. However, Constable White went on to state he received the open magazine pouch from a constable in the firearm training unit as a trial program and was granted approval to use the open magazine pouch. Yeah, whatever it was last time, +1. In a subsequent conversation with his patrol supervisor, Constable White advised he personally purchased the open magazine pouch. Sergeant KK questioned Constable White regarding the inconsistency with his previous statement that he received the pouch from the firearm training unit. Constable White advised Sergeant KK he had always told him he purchased the unauthorized magazine pouch himself. So not only is he not telling truth here, but he is really blatant about it. Like, it looks like he's trying to gaslight the sergeant into, no, I told you that thing originally. Of course, the sergeant's going to take notes because he's a police officer, and that's what cops do. They take notes. Lots and lots and lots of notes. It's one of the more miserable things about the police job is that they have to take notes pretty much all the time about everything, so I'm going to guess that there were some notes taken here. Staff Sergeant LL was apprised by Sergeant KK that Constable White had been removed from the tactical selection process because of an unauthorized magazine pouch. We caught you cheating. You gone. Not gone from the police, of course, just not from the... He's just not in the tactical team. Staff Sergeant LL spoke to Constable White and during this conversation summarized the information he received, disclosing Constable White was issued the open magazine pouch by a member of the firearm training unit some years ago after Constable White's EPS issued magazine pouch was broken. Staff Sergeant LL stated at no point did Constable White correct this information by clarifying he was not provided the open magazine pouch, but had purchased it himself. So, we're getting a whole lot of different stories here. On July 20th, 21, Constable White participated in a directed interview with the Professional Standards Branch, i.e., this is the point where you are in serious trouble. He confirmed he was in possession and using an open-top magazine pouch during the tactical selection process. Constable White acknowledged the use of this type of magazine holder would afford an advantage during the timed shooting event, and this is unquestionably true. You know, this is a better piece of kit. It's a faster piece of kit. The disadvantage is that maybe it doesn't have as much retention in the sense that if you fall, maybe your magazine is a little more likely to slip out and end up somewhere not on your person if it's, you know, the open type rather than one with a flap. Might also be easier for somebody to come up behind you and pull the magazine out without you noticing if it's the open type. All right, so Constable White confirmed he was not part of the firearm training unit and did not participate in any trial program involving the use of open-top magazine holders. He's just been lying about that the whole time. All right, during the Professional Standards Branch interview, Constable White denied telling the tactical manager he was issued and provided approval to use the open or fast magazine pouch by a member of the firearm training unit. Constable White also denied that he had been told by Constable OO not to get caught wearing the open magazine pouch while on duty, indicating if anyone had mentioned this, he would have taken off the open magazine pouch because, of course, this is a man of integrity. This is a man of, you know, quality. Or, yeah. All right. Constable White agrees that the above facts support the finding that he engaged in one count of deceit and pleads guilty to this charge. Constable White has no prior discipline on his record. And they note, in view of the plea and having satisfied myself the count is made out in the facts, I found the count proven. So the officer had pled guilty to this. And this is an agreed statement of facts as to, you know, how it went down. Now, that's just what happened. The interesting bit is the penalty bit, because, again, what we're talking about is an offense of deception, an offense about lying. And as mentioned, that is one of the most critical things that a police officer does. If a police officer is dishonest, well, they shouldn't be a police officer because the whole job involves testifying in court. And further, I find it incredibly troubling just how willing he was to throw his friend under the bus, or his colleague under the bus, because theoretically you should take responsibility for your own mistakes. And yeah, the other thing is, by cheating or trying to, gain advantage on this particular competition, that's actually also throwing his colleagues under the bus, because the other officers who were there fighting for this position hopefully were doing so honestly and according to the rules. And they then have to compete with a guy who is cutting corners. So that's not great. All right, so let's see what we're looking at in terms of penalty, because I have some thoughts on what the appropriate penalty is. I'm sure you can sort of see where I'm going on this one, but let's see what they do. So the presenting officer advised that a joint submission on sanction had been prepared. Now, the presenting officer is something akin to the prosecutor. It's the person who is bringing the disciplinary arguments. And so a joint submission on sanction means that both sides had come to an agreement on the appropriate penalty. So before introducing that joint submission, she noted that having been caught in a lie, Constable White faced serious consequences for his misconduct, including dismissal. So those are the potential consequences. This misconduct goes to the core values of what is expected of a police officer, because of course it does. Honesty is perhaps the core value. The chief recognizes that striking a balance in penalty options is necessary, and that some officers may seek a path to redemption from their misconduct. Okay. Constable White took responsibility for his misconduct after not taking responsibility for it like 8 times. And the chief provided an opportunity to Constable White based on this specific and unique set of circumstances. He took responsibility for it only after they had to work together to pin down the maze of incorrect statements he told various people. So he took responsibility for it after he was caught. Once it was a situation of trying to get out of trouble. All right, so the off-ramp project, which is something new. It's something that I'd never heard of before. This off-ramp project, which is a means to avoid punishing officers to the degree that they might otherwise have earned, provided Constable White with independent legal advice early in the process to seek an exit from the usual path these matters would take and find a new path to resuming his career. Why are we trying to help him resume his career? Is this really the officer that is our sterling example of who we want resuming their career? Somebody who is dishonest? Somebody who cheats in a selection process? Somebody who throws his colleagues under the bus? Is this really the guy we want to stretch our legs to try to, rescue? I kind of think not, but that's the way they went. So Constable White accepted responsibility for his misconduct. He has approximately 7 years of service and no prior discipline. Great. This is a biggie, though. This is a biggie. His performance reviews were positive, and he enjoys support from his supervisors and peers. I'm guessing the ones he didn't try to throw under the bus. The ones he didn't try to throw under the bus yet. He acknowledged his poor judgment. Well, what else are you going to do on that one? The recommendation for sanction is for the member to be reduced in seniority within rank for a period of 3 years to a financial equivalency of $35,000, with the determination of the process to be left to the payroll section. The member would return to the full seniority he would have achieved but for the reduction. Constable White, if required, will participate in a process to apologize to those individuals he misled, as determined by the Professional Standards Branch, and take responsibility for his actions. Oh, isn't that nice? I don't see that we necessarily need to hit him for $35,000. My issue isn't that I want to be mean to this guy and want to see him penalized. My issue is I don't think he should be a cop if he's not honest and if he cheats and throws his colleagues under the bus. Those are things that should be incompatible with being a police officer. There's all sorts of jobs that he could do with that. But not this one. this one's kind of an important job in society. And, when we say that police officers, get certain privileges, like the privilege to carry firearms around because they are, held to the highest standards. Well, are they? Is this the highest standards? All right. These apologies would be completed to the satisfaction of the chief with a list of those to whom Constable White is to apologize, provided by April 30th by the Professional Standards Branch, with the apologies carried out by May 15th, 2022. Yeah, nothing feels as heartfelt as a required apology. Hey, the disciplinary board says I have to apologize for you or to you, so sorry. Yeah, that really is an indicator of remorse. Finally, and at the optional discretion of the chief, optional discretion, okay, great, the member will participate in a program of education or service-wide messaging, promoting the benefit of the off-ramp project, wherein Constable White was given an opportunity to properly acknowledge and take responsibility for his deceit. He's going to advertise for this project that helped him continue to be an officer. I mean, how's that going to go? Hi, I'm Constable White. You might remember me from such incidents as that time I tried to cheat and also lied and also threw my colleagues under the bus. Yeah, I know I've said that a few times, but it's kind of a big thing. I just want to tell you about just how great the off-ramp project is because I'm still a police officer here working beside you, performing such duties as continuing to throw you under the bus in future if it might get me out of trouble. Off-ramp project is great. Next time you're involved in some sort of misconduct, I recommend the off-ramp project. Yeah, I would really like to see that service-wide messaging. I wonder if they'll turn that over with a FOIP request, because, yeah, I suspect that they're going to optionally discretion not to do this, because, yeah, I can't see that playing well. All right, so, the presenting officer submits the proposed penalty meets the goals of the Edmonton Police Service and those of the case of Amory, as it provides for remedial training as Constable White is reintegrated into frontline duties, offers both specific and general deterrence, and has demonstrated the Edmonton Police Services recognizes the seriousness of the misconduct, thereby safeguarding public trust. No, it does not. This is what destroys public trust. When we hear that an officer is deceitful, we, as the public, trust that they're going to not be cops anymore. That is what the public trust is. Stuff like this destroys the public trust because now when we look at a police officer on the street, we wonder, hey, is this an honest officer or is this one of the guys who has been found to be deceitful and was given a pass through this off-ramp project or something else? Public trust is at an all-time low for the police, partially because of this, and I recognize that most police officers are people trying to do their jobs and trying to do it well and are not doing this stuff. The problem is that when you have, as an institution, a practice of protecting and trying to reintegrate people who have done things that really should be incompatible with being a police officer, like being deceitful in official, responses to things, yeah, we expect them to be out. It's the one thing of if you go to a restaurant and you find out that they, at one point they served you a meal and it was a bad meal. And you go, okay, well, fair enough. Nobody is perfect. Everybody, is going to screw up sometimes. And so I got served something that made me a little ill. That's one thing. But if you find out that they knowingly have, contaminated food in the back, and they're just going, okay, well, you know what? We're going to pour a little bit of extra sauce on it so you can't see it and then send it out anyway. That kind of says that's not a good restaurant. So, yeah, the public trust isn't harmed by an officer who does a bad thing. It's terribly harmed by an institution that says that officer is one we need to keep. We need to hold on to this because thumbs up to what this, what's happening here. This is a good officer. Yeah, no. There's a better process. There's a better result here. All right. So the presenting officer briefly touched upon the Supreme Court of Canada case of Anthony Cook, which, though in the criminal law context, calls for decision makers to provide deference to joint submissions unless acceptance of such a submission is not appropriate or is likely to offend the public interest. She submits this proposal meets the goals for discipline as set out in the case of Amory. And defense counsel addressed the financial impact, and given that Constable White is X, the ability to spread the penalty across 3 years was appreciated. He spoke to the unique factors behind the scenes and the significant work done by many to get to this resolution. Constable White, as seen by the performance evaluations and the support documents, is a strong performer. Or is he, though? I mean, was he honest in those in those documents? Were the performance evaluators honest? Because it doesn't seem like dishonesty is a thing that gets you bounced. So, is he really a strong performer? Are they basing this on his reports? He's remorseful for his misconduct. Eventually, he says, and knows his career has suffered. He plans to follow the plan to reintegrate him into operational roles as his veracity is rebuilt given the McNeil disclosure limitations. He welcomes the opportunity to earn back the trust he lost. How can you ever earn back the trust you lost? Because we'll never know if you're being honest going forward or if you're just not being caught. I mean, that's a problem, right? Because you only got caught here because other people put a lot of work into it and kind of got lucky on it. So, yeah, the McNeil disclosure limitations, what that means is that every time now that he goes and engages in some sort of activity, the defense counsel is going to get as part of disclosure, they're going to get an indication that Constable White has been found guilty of a crime, or not a crime, sorry, a police act offense of deceit, which, you know, is a bit of a problem for when you're trying to testify and be held to be credible. Just kind of saying. So this is what's actually being imposed. Recognizing the deference a presiding officer should give to joint submissions as per Anthony Cook, I find the proposed penalty to be appropriate. It is in fact similar to penalties I've assessed in other cases involving deceit, which addresses another Amory factor, like misconduct should attract like penalties. This should be extra worrying to people. Like, hey, there's other deceitful officers, and this is what we're doing. We're keeping them too. Yay! And I agree that like misconduct should attract like penalties, but there's a point where you can also say, listen, public confidence is in the toilet, and we need to condemn particular activities particularly harshly, like, say, deceit. So, I'm satisfied this penalty meets the objectives of Amory and does not offend the public interest. Hey, public, how are you feeling about that? Let me know in the comments below. I impose the following sanction on Constable White. The member shall be reduced in seniority within rank for a period of 3 years to the financial equivalency of $35,000, to be determined by payroll how this will be facilitated. After the 3-year period, the member shall be reinstated to his accrued seniority. Okay, so basically, this is a fine of $35,000, but it's not all at once. It's stretched out over 3 years. So it's a fine kind of with a payment plan, and the payment plan is they're going to pay him less. All right, the member, if required, not necessarily required, but, you know, if, will participate in a process to apologize to those individuals he misled and take responsibility for his actions. These apologies will be completed to the satisfaction of the chief, and a list will be provided by the Professional Standards Branch of who the apologies are to be issued to and any relevant details. At the optional discretion of the chief in the future, the member will participate in a program of education or service-wide messaging, so that advertising campaign. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of the case there and kind of what happened. And I guess the next bit about this that I want to comment on is about transparency, because the Edmonton Police Service has a page with these decisions, and I just kind of want to show it to you here because you can just see what it looks like. Decisions available for request. So the following disciplinary decisions are available upon request, and they list a date and an offense, but nothing about, say, the officer who did it or any details. Now, in order to get that, you have to actually email and, you know, make a Freedom of Information request, which is not super transparent. By comparison, if you want to look at the RCMP's method of doing it, the RCMP page, you can see member conduct, and they note that you can get a page of the written board decisions, which looks like this. So you can go and look, and you can see Constable Blaze Pickett's, and you can click that and pull up the full decision here, which, notes that on this particular day, while under the influence of alcohol, he caused damage to the police vehicle, was found asleep behind the wheel at a fast food drive-thru. His police service dog, drug dog kit, mobile workstation, carbine, and ammunition were also in the vehicle. And he refused to provide a breath sample and resisted arrest before being taken into custody. So you can see all that, and you can tell, and there's some transparency. And I'm going to do a video about this one, because, yeah. But you can see all of this stuff, and you can look it up. There's some actual transparency, as opposed to hiding everything behind this sort of this barrier. Because, I mean, it's the modern age. There's not really a reason not to put these up online, other than to create this impediment to people searching it. It prevents somebody from going and looking up, for instance, a particular officer. Now, I know that I'm going to get people in the comments going, hey, Runkle, you're a criminal defense and firearms lawyer. You're just anti-cop. And you know what? I don't think so. I'm anti-bad cop, and it seems to me that if you want to support good police officers, you have to do that by getting rid of the bad ones. You might say, oh, well, this particular officer here, we should just forgive him. But the problem is that what that means is that Constable OO and, Staff Sergeant, whatever, all of the alphabet officers that we saw in this one, they have to deal with deceit and cheating and so forth. So if you want to protect the officers who are doing a good job, presumably, you need to get rid of the bad ones. In order to be fair to everyone else at that competition who was, trying to compete fairly for this, you can't have any tolerance for it. And if you want to say that officers should not be lied to when they're conducting, when they're engaged in their business, and that they can trust their colleagues not to try to blame them for their own, for misconduct that they weren't responsible for, then you gotta sort of deal with the bad officers. So to my mind, if you want to be pro-police, or at least pro-good officer, the way you do that is by not forcing them to be colleagues with bad officers. So anyway, he's been sanctioned to the tune of $35,000, but he'll be coming soon to a street corner, or street near you. Yeah, I'm not super thrilled about that. I think that this is a problem, and quite frankly, I think it's, this is the sort of thing that really shakes the confidence of the public. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, whether you think I'm right or whether you think I'm out to lunch on this one, but this one kind of bothers me. Anyway, I also want to thank my Patreon supporters at the $50 level, Canada's National Firearms Association, the CCFR, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited and Marc-Olivier Damour. And at the $20 level, Mick Tain, Mark, Jane Babin Luxor, Haywire, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, Bruno R., April Crawford, Andrew Elsich, and Vicky. Thank you as well to all of my $10 supporters who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has armed you with knowledge.